great futures start here.
If you notice, then you probably recognize some of those people. They were all club members at one time. Some of them state club members. The reason why we're here tonight was Councilman Gordon has been, him and his wife, have supported the club the last several years, and we were having a discussion about, we were looking at possibly building a new facility. We have a building now in Lake Dallas. Lake Dallas has been a wonderful supporter of our organization for many, many years. And we don't have the capability of doing what we want to do in that building. It's very small. It's only about 2,500 feet. We can only, square feet. We can only handle a little over 100 kids a day. And in the summer, believe me, there are more than 100 kids. We have to kind of rotate them around. We have to maximize it. And we looked at possibly building a facility in Lake Dallas. And when I was talking to Chris, we just had a conversation about it. And there was some discussion about maybe doing something over in this town. And saying if we could partner, and what I've done since we've talked to the mayor and Lynn and Chris in a meeting, Babs and I did, was I looked at, well, we've already started the process, is we have a local architect that has designed several local schools that has stepped up and given his time to help us design a new facility. Now he's going to do the renderings, and then he's going to give us a discount on the full facility, and Babs can kind of talk about that a little bit, but they've actually traveled to different clubs to see what's the best thing to do in building a new facility. One of the things that I like to do is, and we all both would like to do, is see us have a gym. We don't have a gym facility. We'd like to see more kids that are really going to be, I think, in my opinion, more juveniles would be the older kids, the teens and up. If you have a facility like a gym, they will come there. You want to add something to that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it tells most of the story. We did have a chance to go out and visit lots of clubs, and what we've been trying to do, because there's new clubs, there's old clubs, and we're trying to pick the best of each part of those clubs and put those together that are best meeting the needs of the people that are managing the clubs in those areas. A club that we still have yet to look at, and we have a basic kind of floor plan of how it works, because you want it to be pretty open, you want to be able to supervise these children. I think what a lot of people don't realize is they can destroy a building in a short amount of time. So you really do have to have supervision. You've got to have people that know how to work with kids. One of the clubs that we still have yet to look at is a partnership that is between the city and the school district and the Boys and Girls Club. And what they've done in that facility, and that's why I want to go look at it, they've actually put in 2 Olympic-sized pools. The school district uses those pools for a swim program, and I know in this area we don't have such a thing. They happen to be able to build, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 gyms, and they run a lot of non-traditional sports. You know, here in this area there's a soccer league. Here in this area there's, some other heavily attended sports, but there's a lot of other sports that aren't addressed. And so there's that little niche in there that can also be looked at. So we're going to look at that and see, is that something that might be feasible, and hopefully talk with some folks from the school district, see what this community is really looking for, how do you want to earmark yourselves, how do you want to stand out, and how does that lend itself to what we can do. Obviously, we work with kids from kindergarten to age 17, through age 17. And then they can stay with us after 17 as an employee, and we have a program with Boys and Girls Club of America where they can actually come to the club, they can work there, and while we're paying them to work there, they can also get scholarship money from Boys and Girls Club of America. So there's some opportunities for those kids to go on. We do work with paid staff. We have to pay people. The one thing I know, kids come every day, volunteers don't always show up every day. So we make our programs very flexible, accommodate volunteers when they come in and work with the kids. They don't just work with one kid like you might do with Big Brothers Big Sisters, but you might be paired with multiple children, and if you come in and one of them's not there, then you have another child or 2 to work with. So a little bit on that, and I spoke with some folks today that have this roofing company. They also have a construction company, and there is a possibility, if we decide to build something down the road, that we could get a tremendous amount of savings from that, plus a rebate or a contribution back of a percentage of that construction cost back to the organization to help operate the organization.
And just one other thing I want to add to it. I asked several people at Boys and Girls Clubs, and then we'll make it more, some of the clubs that work with cities or towns and worked with them to develop a club. Carson City, Nevada did this about 3 years ago. And that's a smaller community, but I did visit with them. And their club, they have, I think they call it Proposition 18, but I think it's like a bond. And their people voted on it. And then they actually, the Boys and Girls Clubs own this building. And I asked them, I said, so these people are paying on it, do the citizens get to come? And they go, well, it's closed. You gotta remember, everybody in the back that comes through the club that works there, volunteers, has to have a background check. Nobody gets to see the kids unless they have a background and pass a background check. And what they did was they actually built a building and they own it, but it doesn't have a gymnasium in it. And I said, how did the city react to paying? Obviously, they're paying more taxes. He said almost every child in that town comes to the Boys and Girls Club at one time or another. They have about 400 kids that are members, and in the summer, she said over 1,000 children come through that club. And that's just one of the facilities, and I'll be glad to find out. So, anything else? I'm here to answer any questions about what we do, what we're looking to maybe do with you guys, or whatever questions you might have.
And what you're all looking to do, is there a way with what you want to do, and what we're trying to do for the kids in the area to make it something that will stand out for you and your community, and make it something that your residents will like having here, and your kids will greatly benefit from?
Someone mentioned that Gainesville, I believe, has a partnership. Is that the closest one locally that has like a town Boys Girls Club partnership that has a joint venture?
I'm trying to think if that's the closest one to here. Probably, I think it is. There's another one over in McKinney that has, their Boys and Girls Club is in the city's recreation center, and they quarter off times, in after school years when there's just kids there, and then when it's open to the general public. So I know those two operate that way. And I know Gainesville has been around, their club has been around for a very long time, and they're in the process of building a new building downtown. And they happen to run all the sports programs for that community.
In fact, I talked to their director about a year ago. She said they're known more for their sports program than the Boys and Girls Club part of it. And that's where a lot of their revenues derive from that situation.
Without stepping on toes, what did Lake Dallas say about this? Are they interested in building somewhere in their town?
Well, Lake Dallas, stepping on toes. Lake Dallas has offered us some land, a very good piece of land, to tell you the truth. We haven't presented it to the council. The city manager and I had discussion, They've talked about giving us some land before. Even if they give us some land, we're still talking about $3.5 million, probably $3.5–4 million. And they don't have the financial wherewithal to move forward in certain areas. They just passed a $10 million bond to do something over there across the train station, things like that.
So is there an expense to the town, I thought I saw, for operations after school hours or after you all stop operating it? Is there an expense I saw around somewhere that the town has to?
Over there?
No.
Yes.
No, we're only open, you're talking about our current facility?
Yes.
Yeah, no, we're only open from 2:30 to 6:30.
Okay, you all operate that?
And we only operate that, and then during the summer, we're open from 7 a.m. to 6:30. The city only, they provide the building, and I think it's like $1 a year. And then if something major happens, they usually help in sharing with that. Like now we've got an air conditioner that's going to cost us several $1,000. Usually help with that.
The tie into the city and the school district and stuff like that is obviously, I think, a big entertaining idea. The fire departments is probably not a bad idea. You guys are close to them obviously right now. Is there any issue
Across the street.
It's really nice because I never have to worry. I will tell you, we had one, and all the time I've been there, it's 2 911 calls. The first time, they were at the fire station, so they just walked over. The second time, I had every fire truck and every ambulance and every police chief there. Because we had a small, actually, we had a child that had an asthmatic attack. And it was really comforting, and it was comforting to people in the area to know that their children had that quick of attention. They didn't have to stay, but they were there and readily available. It's interesting, even though we're that close, we don't run across the street to get them. We pick up the phone and dial 911 because you never know where they are.
Is location a big key, obviously around schools, you guys shuttle them in and out?
We pick up at, is it 11 schools?
10 schools.
10 schools, we pick up all the way down. Of course, they walk from the
Yeah.
elementary school. We pick up from one or two, how many 10 schools do we pick up from?
Well, we are divided between the Lake Dallas School District and the Denton School District. And the only limitation that we have on pickup is the amount of transportation vehicles that we have to pick up with. So, summer's a little bit easier for us because parents bring them to the club and pick them up. We don't do door-to-door pickup and we don't do door-to-door delivery of children. Being close to school, nice, but not required.
So you all said the cost was $3,600 a year for the child.
For a child.
Do they go year round, do they go school year, do they, what do they?
You know, it depends. We have some that only come during the school year. We have some that come only during the summer.
And
Yeah.
some that come half and half. And a lot of the, like Dallas community, I don't know about it in Hickory Creek, but it's fairly transit. When you start getting multifamily dwelling establishments, and you know, over there they don't have so many apartments as they do maybe like mobile homes, and people move in and out of those communities. So we will have a child, they will leave, we'll get them again, they'll come back. So we have them off and on throughout the year, and it might be something that leave and come back, and a couple of years later they're back. But on average, it runs $3,600 a year to produce the service to have a child in there, and that covers, you know, our biggest commodity is our staff, because they're the ones that are working with the kids every day. We're not selling a product. And then we have, obviously, the operating cost of the facility, but our greatest cost is the staff, because we do have to have paid staff to take care of the kids.
How many paid staff do you have on?
Right now, based upon the after-school program, I have 3 part-timers, and then we have 3 full-timers. And our business hours are from 10 in the morning until 6:30 at night. That's basically the business hours of the organization, because during that time, we work with community service, court-ordered community service people. They're not allowed to be there when the kids are there. We work with a lot of teens after school when they have court-ordered service. And a lot of what we're able to do with the facility insofar as maintenance comes by utilizing those skilled laborers that come in. And most of them are good folks. There's a few and they're kind of flaky and they don't stay. They'll come one time and then we won't see them again. But
So those are volunteers or?
We treat them as volunteers. They're court ordered. There's certain things that we not, obviously, they have to do the same background check as everybody else, depending on what their charge was. And Babs is correct. We occasionally will have one that actually stays on 2 or 3 days. They may
yeah,
have,
some they'll stay on for years once they finish
Yeah.
their course.
they'll actually become part of the club. They're sort of moved about, but most of them, we've had them from as young as 13, I think 12 or 13 come in. And we've had some that are older that just, and we treat them as volunteers. In other words, we know, the staff knows, actually not even all the staff knows, when a person comes in and they're doing something like that, the kids, they're just a volunteer. And that's important for them, because what happens is, what I think a lot of these people that are in this situation, they get the respect that they never really had before. They come in with usually a chip on their shoulder, a lot of them do, especially kids. And all of a sudden, everybody likes them. It's just like, there's no pretense here. Everybody, you know, that's one of the great things about our club is there's no color. And everybody, when they walk in the door, we're all the same. All the staff is called Miss Bass, Mr. Rick, Coach so-and-so. And that's very important for them to know that, yes ma'am, no ma'am, that kind of thing. And I think it's interesting that a couple of things just to point out real quick. The impact that Boys and Girls Clubs has, Babs and I were making a presentation to the Denton South Rotary Club last year. And there's about 30 members there, and when we got through, we asked for questions. 2
That's
people.
fun.
No, Denton South.
Oh, yes, sorry.
2 people stood up, which we had never met before. Neither one of them knew that they'd gone to Boys and Girls Club. Neither one of them stood up. Last month we made a presentation at the Quine and something then, and one of the gentlemen who was probably in his 70s stood up and started crying. And he was all about the fact that he had somebody from the Boys and Girls Club cared about him enough that he said if it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have. I mean, it's very moving. We basically just talk about the people stand up. It's an amazing thing, because that's the other part.
And I think a lot of times in your community, you might not know. I mean, things might look good on the surface, but they may not be that good for those kids at home. And so by having adult role models that can work with the kids at all ages. Some of them come in as grandparents. We have a lot of grandparents raising kids. You know, there's a generational gap there that we kind of have to go in with, understand. But I think there's an opportunity for us to talk some more about that. We're landlocked where we currently are. I mean, it's a great location. It's an awful building. I mean, it has lots of small rooms. It's very intensive to supervise it. And our kids have what I call CSS, confined space syndrome. When you have a lot of kids in a very small space, you know, their behavior is not as good as it should be because they get on each other's nerves. It'd be like putting a whole bunch of people in this room and everybody just kind of talking to each other. So, you know, we really do need a bigger facility.
But the great thing about it is we have, I think, the only single cell jail in Denton County that exists in there because it's City Hall. And so
We can't transform them with their
we usually
message.
show kids when they first come in. Of course, we use it for stores now.
I don't want to take too much
Yeah.
more of your time, so any other questions? I mean, we're kind of just in the idea stage. I know it had come up a while back when I was entertaining the idea of the library and how we might be able to do that together, and I had asked Councilman Gordon what happened to that because we were kind of excited about that and heard that that really wasn't going to be something that was going to happen in the near future, and y'all were maybe hoping to do something with the sports facility, and we just thought that might be a good match, a good time to talk to y'all to see if you had any interest in it. Because we are going to move forward with building a club, we just don't know where yet. We haven't decided.
Any other questions for Charles? Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for your
Appreciate it.
patience.
Thank you for your work.
Discussion up here?
I think Councilman Kenny didn't have the luxury of the discussion that we had last month, but possibly just let's highlight some of the, I guess, some of the discussion that we had. Basically, I feel like the town has desired some sort of a community center or some sort of a recreation center for a while. I feel like we do have the support of the majority of our citizens that could possibly use a recreation facility or a social center or a bingo hall. And if it's something that we would be willing to step up to the plate with and provide, we have an opportunity to partner or to do it on our own. I know that Mr. and Ms. Troutman, they met with the Loris Group, a fundraising corporation out of Atlanta last week. And the scope was to find a consultant company that would lead a capital endowment campaign that would provide the $3.5 million that they're looking for to build a building. And the president of that company, there was, I guess, I assume they would stick around. I should have brought it up while they were still here. The president of that company said that he was the one who did the capital, the 5-year development plan for the North Texas Stadium. The new stadium in North Texas, and he would want to do a feasibility study for our community before he would give them some estimates of how long it would take to raise some money, where they would find a donation, as a full marketing campaign. But it appears that Mr. and Ms. Troutman, they're determined to build this facility. I don't know if it's the right thing for us to partner with them or not. I just see it as an option and something to explore. Paul, we did talk about there would have to be separate space for the Boys and Girls Club than for the public, if we were going to partner with them, because everybody that interacts with those kids has to have the background check. They require a technical center, computers for the high school age, and then for the younger age have to have separate facilities. So kind of what I thought we might consider was a multi-use building that would be run and operated under the Boys and Girls Club budget, which they provided. And of course, that is not to scale up an 18,000 square foot building, which they're proposing. It's based on their current model. it's this year's budget that's been approved by their board. But maybe there's two separate entrances. Maybe there's a Boys and Girls Club entrance, and there's a Town of Hickory Creek entrance. And they can manage their portion, we can manage our portion. Or they have proposed to manage the entire thing for the town as well. So if on a Saturday afternoon, after the Boys and Girls Club hours are over, the entire gym can be opened up for father-son basketball tournaments, or anybody that walks in off the street. We would have to set a per use fee, a monthly fee, whatever we come up to. Use it for HOA meetings, use it for socials, use it for the Christmas parties, whatever. We would propose that it would at least house 150 people for a public meeting. And that 18,000 square feet, we would do that. And then the second aspect of that was we also, I desire some sort of a sports complex, somewhere where our kids can play soccer, practice baseball, throw a frisbee around on just an open lot that's not real heavily treed. We discussed a couple of locations last week, and I think that'll be discussed on the second agenda item, so I won't get into that too much at all. I think we just have to kick it around and see if we provide the land, are we willing to wait 3 to 5 years for them to come up with the money to build a rec center? Do we like the idea or not? I think we've got a lot of research to do, a lot of questions to answer before we get to that point, but we can at least probably make the decision, is it the right thing to partner, or should we stick to ourselves? Soon, I would hope. And I think, Chief, you were gonna go investigate one of the properties and give us a report.
I checked with City Manager Roanoke, that's number one. He said that when they started building their recreation center, they were approached by the YMCA and also the Boys and Girls Club. He stated to me that they did not want to participate with either. They wanted, since they were putting out $3.5 to $4 million for a rec center, they wanted total control of it.
So they were paying for the building?
He said basically the programs that were being offered by the Boys and Girls Club, they were already doing. So for them, it wasn't any benefit. He said also that they draw from all the surrounding communities, and they open like at 5 a.m., close at 10 or 11 at night. He said they have to staff it during that time because it is a recreation center. Gainesville, a little different. I checked with them, talked with Barry Sullivan, he's city manager of Gainesville. He said basically what Gainesville does, and he said they are tremendous help to Gainesville. But he said we contribute $12,000 a year to the Boys and Girls Club. He said basically any in-kind support we can give them from a city standpoint, we do. He said because there is no way the city of Gainesville can run the programs that they run. They manage all the baseball, basketball, soccer, stuff like that. They completely organize everything, run it. He said the city of Gainesville, for what they put in it, the $12,000, and what they can do from a city standpoint without putting out any money on the in-kind situation, that Gainesville just couldn't do it. So he said they are a tremendous help to them. He said that the school district has vacated the building, which is, I guess it's a large portable type building, the way he was talking, across from a public works facility of Gainesville. And he said that they are looking at trading that for a piece of property somewhere. The Boys and Girls Club owns that building now. His school donated it to them, and they're looking at trading that because it is next to the public works facility, and trading it for a piece of property somewhere that belongs to the city of Gainesville. So really it would just be a swap. So he said, but they do serve he's a they're tremendous help against it. Roanoke, you know, they basically wanted burning.
So I guess what they have proposed, if I understand it correctly, is that if we'll provide the land, they'll provide the building. But they can't make any guarantees, the way I understand it, as to how long it'll take before it's fully funded. The fund manager through the Loris Group, estimated that it would take 6 months to a year to provide the feasibility studies, come up with the marketing, and then you're looking at years 2, 3 to 4 before it could actually be built. So, I think it just depends on our tolerance level. If we would rather do it on our own, if we do see it as a benefit to partner, or do we do a bond and build our own building and our own sports complex? Do we just build a sports complex? Do we do neither? I guess the ball's obviously in our courts. I've got an open mind. Parks and Rec, I passed it, we discussed it as an agenda item earlier this month, and unanimously, they all felt that they would support the sports complex for sure, just like us wanted more data on Boys and Girls Club management and how that would work out, but did feel the need for a community/recreation center.
All right. Any thoughts? Got a couple. Speak up. Here's my thoughts on this. I like us looking into the recreation center. I think it's because of what we discussed in our meeting within that 2 to 6:30, really bars a lot of people from being able to participate, especially the citizens of this town that would be paying for the majority of this. If you look at their budget and the $215,000 a year in personnel, even if they were able to come up with that $215,000, your expenses overall for, say, utilities in that little building they're at over there that she talked about, that's 1,500 square feet or $11,000 a year. We're talking about 18,000 square feet. So we're talking almost $150,000 a year just in utilities. I'm just going through and adding this up and looking at what we can afford as a town for a building that they anticipate building. And even if we cost shared some of those with them, right now they're raising for their total revenue is $371,000 a year. They're going to need to raise 5 times that amount in order to help do their portion of this building.
I agree.
So basically, they're looking at having to raise $1.5 million on their
on top of what they need for the building.
Correct. So that really bothers me as far as a budgetary expense. And then you just go down through their insurance, $10,000 a year. Well, 18,000 square feet, 2 pools. Your insurance on 2 swimming pools is really going to climb. You're going to have lifeguards. You're going to have a lot of different folks, pool cleaning people, all that stuff right there.
Currently, they haven't proposed a pool.
Right, you talk about 2 Olympic pools and partnering with the school.
We're so far away from the details that we can't really, if you're concerned with public having access from 2 to 6, we totally have the ability to have our own access, to have our own side of the building that Boys and Girls Club never accesses. That is always open for the public at the hours that we set. I think everything is very flexible right now.
Right.
We just need to identify what we can do, and what they can do, and what we want.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, it's just,
Like, if you're looking at an 18,000 square foot building, and if they need that,
basketball court.
if they're using the basketball court from 2:30 to 6:30, if they're utilizing the entire building.
So let's go back to them and tell them we don't think 18,000 square foot is going to work. We need our portion of it. We need a bigger building. And then we have a bond or whatever we need to do to have it to meet.
I guess for me, we get right back into the same discussion that we had on the library. Building the building is one thing. It's operating it for the next, forever. And that's where we ran into a snag with the library. You can issue a bond and you can build a building. We could have done that for the library.
Yeah.
It's the staffing it, and if they're involved, they said, well, we'll staff it for you. Well, if they're involved with the children from 2:30 to 6:30, then we have to provide our own staff over here at our cost, not coming out of their cost. So it just, to me, we get back into that same discussion that we've had with the library.
So to me, I don't see a library as being a revenue generator. Coaching, refereeing, hosting tournaments of multiple sports, I know that it